Chapter 1.
You really need to shave.
I blink up at Lily, still too tired to make much sense of what she's just said. Since when does Lily give me personal hygiene advice?
Seriously, look in the mirror and then take a razor. Not mine, though.
She dances away, swaying her lips like the succubus she is. Ever since she returned from that convention, she's been spreading seduction and allure. It's a miracle that nobody in this house has ended up in bed with her yet. I hope. I groan and slide out of my hammock. I've been sleeping a lot in the past 3 days, but it never seems to be enough. My body is changing, turning against me, and I don't know how to stop it. Right now, Riker is the only one who can even understand what I'm saying. I still meow every time I open my mouth, which means I rarely speak nowadays. It's too frustrating to see them trying not to laugh at my frantic meows. And then there's the purring. My body does it whenever I feel the tiniest flicker of happiness. It's the reason why I've stayed away from men. They don't need to know that I'm happy when I'm around them. The exception is Riker, because I need him to translate for me. I've never been a chatterbox, but knowing that I need someone else to pass on my messages has made me think twice about what I want to say, what actually needs to be said. And surprisingly, that's not a lot at all. My employees know what to do. They don't need much help or encouragement. They're running the place while I'm indisposed. So far, none of them has come to me with any problems, which means either there aren't any, or that they don't want to bother me. Or they're scared of me. Who knows? I take Lily's advice and stagger over to the dusty mirror hanging from a nail on one of the wooden posts supporting my hammock. I never really use it. Vanity is for losers. The only thing I care about is looking threatening when I need to. I don't need to be pretty. Still, I can't help but gasp when I see myself. This must be a nightmare. My face is covered in black hair, as midnight black as my panther fur, except that I should be human. I shouldn't have fur on my face, and my eyes shouldn't be ringed with yellow either. Am I turning into some kind of hybrid? Part cat, part human? It's what I've always been inside, especially since my collar was lifted, but it's not what I should look like. I need to blend in. I can't do my job looking like a mutant. A razor. Lily said I should shave. Where did I put that razor? I've not used it in ages. My body has very little hair growth, and I don't really care about the few tiny hairs on my legs. It's not as if anyone gets to see them when I'm wearing my black leather trousers. But now, I really need to do something about my hair growth. I run a hand over my cheeks. They're actually furry. No, a razor won't do much good here. Even my forehead is covered in black hair, about as long as my pinky nail. I look like a cat on 2 legs. I shudder. This can't be happening. Even my teeth feel different. I run my tongue over my front incisors. Sharp, pointy, panther. I groan and go back to my hammock. I'm not going to leave the attic today. Maybe by tomorrow, everything will be back to normal. An assassin can hope. I smell Riker's scent before he sticks his head up the attic trap door. I've left it open, lacking the energy to get up and close it. I turn away from him and pull my blanket over my head. I don't want him to see me like this. Maybe I should shift, but who knows what might happen then. I might end up a furless panther with human skin. That would be even worse than being a hairy human. Lily told me you might want some company, he says cheerily. That bitch. Does she seriously think I'd want anyone to see me in this state? Lily needs a reality check. Not everyone is an exhibitionist like her. Go away. I meow. At least I can talk to Riker. He understands my meows, even when he's human. I don't think so. I'm bored. Great. A bored cat. There's nothing worse. Usually, that ends in destroyed curtains and torn open catnip bags. He plops down on the bright orange beanbag in the corner. My latest acquisition. It was only delivered 2 days ago, but I've not really been in the mood to enjoy it. In fact, I've only sat on it once, then decided moping felt better in my hammock. This is comfy. Now, tell me, what's wrong? I snort. Besides being stuck in this state, besides knowing what I know? He chuckles, ignoring the sarcasm in my voice. Yes, besides that. We'll find a solution, don't worry. You'll be back to normal in no time. I'll never be normal again. All my life has been a lie. I'm not even real. I hear him get up and approach. He's so close that all I can smell is his intoxicating scent. I try not to breathe it in. It's intense and makes me want to do things that wouldn't be appropriate. Ever since he's turned human for the first time, his scent has changed. Before, when he was a cat, he wasn't of interest to my ovaries. But now, when he's close like this, I have to suppress what I don't want to feel. He puts a hand on my shoulder, and I try not to flinch. I don't want him to touch me. I'm a clone, an abomination, and right now I'm covered in fur. I just want to be alone and wallow in justified self-pity. What's wrong? He repeats. Talk to me, Kat. You don't need to go through this alone. I stay quiet. There's nothing to say. He's wrong. I have to go through this on my own. Once I'm back to normal, I'm going back to the pack headquarters to find out the truth about my heritage, to see if there are more of us, more clones, and then I'm going to shut them down once and for all. How's the little cat? I ask instead of an answer. Fine, last I heard. She's been asking to see you, though. My clone, no, not my clone, she's not modeled after me after all, has been staying with Griffin's aunt while I'm recovering. I've never met that aunt, but if Griffin thinks she's trustworthy, then I'm all right with that. None of us has experience with looking after a child. Benjamin is almost a child still himself, Bethany is terribly immature, and Lily is busy running me out as my second in command. Riker, Lennox, and Griffin have been here at our headquarters almost the entire time, but they're not fit to parent a child either, no matter how grown up she might act. Little Cat has never had a childhood. She's never been allowed to play, and Griffin said that his aunt might help the girl adjust to normal life. Rose, that's her name. Aunt Rose. She has 2 grown-up daughters herself, so she knows what she's doing. Shall I tell her she can come to visit? No, I snap immediately, sounding harsher than I intended. Riker hasn't seen my face yet. He'll understand when he sees me, if I let him. Okay, don't get all worked up. Let's keep a visit for once you're feeling better. How's the chest? I rub my sternum where Griffin managed to crack 2 of my ribs while resuscitating me. My body isn't healing as quickly as it should. I'm broken, and I don't know how to fix myself. Getting better, I lie. It still hurts like hell when I touch it. I hope Griffin isn't feeling guilty still. Riker chuckles. I don't think he's going to stop feeling guilty until you're walking around healthy and happy. Lennox is still blaming himself as well. This whole house is filled with nothing but self-pity and self-loathing. He sounds bitter about it, and I realize that I've never properly talked to him about his new human self. I've simply accepted that he can now shift, that he's found his human side. How are you? I ask softly. In response, he gently squeezes my shoulder. It's confusing. I thought it would be hard to walk on 2 legs, to talk with humans, but it's like I've been doing it all my life. I still don't like looking at mirrors, though. That face doesn't belong to me. In my mind, I'm still a cat. We have that in common, I mutter. I don't want to see myself in the mirror either. Show me. His voice is a quiet demand, hitting my senses at the same time as another burst of his scent. I find myself turning before I can stop myself. I swipe my hair out of my face and let him look at me. I was expecting surprise, disgust, horror at my ugliness. Instead, he slowly reaches out and strokes my cheek. You're beautiful, he whispers. Exquisite. Of all the reactions I imagined, this wasn't one of them. I don't know how to respond. I stare at him in confusion. He chuckles. Did you think I'd run away screaming? I nod, unable to speak at seeing the heat in his gaze. It makes your eyes seem brighter, he whispers and kneels on the floor so that we're on the same level. His mouth is close to mine, too close, but I'm stuck in my hammock and can't move away. You're beautiful, he repeats. You shouldn't try and hide the cat in you. You're both, cat and human, and you need to give her space to unfold, especially now. Especially now? I repeat, confused. He quirks an eyebrow. You don't know? I can smell it from half a mile away. What? Does that mean this doesn't happen every time? Is it the first time you have this fur on your face? I have no clue what you're on about, I say, repressing a frustrated growl. If he's not going to tell me what's going on this very second, I'm going to bite his head off with my overly sharp human teeth. Or maybe some other bits that are easier to bite off than a head. Estrus, he replies gently. Surely this isn't your first time. That word sounds familiar, but I don't want to believe what I think it means. You're in heat, he explains, confirming my fears. I thought you knew. He clears his throat. How can you not know? Every cat in the area will know by now. Your scent is rather strong. I glare at him. Are you telling me that I smell? He winces. No, not smell. Your scent is that of the most fragrant rose, delicate and strong at the same time, full of promises of beauty and happiness. He gives me a small smile, tinged with a trace of embarrassment. I've had my cat spread the message that you're not a normal female, that you're out of bounds, but there are dozens of males leaving their marks down below in the courtyard. I squeeze my eyes shut, wanting to escape, and here I was thinking it couldn't get any worse. How wrong I was. I'm in heat. That would explain the fur, the meowing, how I don't feel right in my own skin. Maybe it even explains the dream I had while being unconscious, the one where I fucked Griffin on the floor. I'd blush at the thought if my cheeks weren't covered in black fur. How? I stammer. Why? I'm not exactly an expert. Riker hedges, but I assume the collar triggered it, or maybe nearly dying. Maybe your body has realized that it's time to pass on your genes. I open my eyes just in time to see an amused smile spread on his face. I'm not going to have kittens, I protest. My body can stop being in heat and go back to normal. I'm not interested in having offspring. His smile only grows at my words. I believe humans have ways to prevent having kittens. You don't need to get pregnant to get better. I stare at him. Are you saying I need sex to feel better? I point at my hairy face. To make this go away? I think so. It's not exactly like I've got any experience with shifter females in heat, but that's what normal cats do. If you prolong it, if you don't give in to your urges, you'll go crazy. And rub against furniture, spray every street corner, howl all night, that sort of thing. Better to deal with it before it gets worse. That feels wrong. I mutter, having sex just to get better. I'd feel like I'm exploiting whoever I sleep with. His smile wavers a little. It wouldn't have to be the only reason. I know of at least 3 men who'd be happy to assist you. I'm sure he can see my blush through my fur now. 3 men. How did he come to this conclusion? Lennox, he probably knows about him. Griffin, did I say anything when I woke up? Did I moan while being unconscious, while dreaming that I was with him? And who's the third? Is it... His lips meet mine.
Because of YouTube's content rules, this scene has to be skipped. However, if you want to listen to the spicy scene, go to the link in the description.
Cold eyes stare down at me. I don't recognize the man. The lower half of his face is hidden behind a mask, but his eyes are enough to make me shake with fright. Evil glints in his black pupils, cold ice in the blue around them. I try to move, but there is metal around my wrists and ankles, holding me in place. I fight against my bonds, but I dimly remember that I've been here before, that I never managed to escape. I'm trapped. Don't worry, it will be over soon. The man whispers, but it's not reassuring me. On the contrary, the fear paralyzing me is only getting worse. And you won't even remember this ever happened. His eyes narrow as he smiles underneath the mask. No, I have to remember. Traces of memories are flittering through my mind, of having been here before. Hearing him say the same words over and over. I can't forget this time. I mustn't. If I don't remember, I'm vulnerable. Ignorance could mean death. He reaches up and lowers something metal down from the ceiling, some kind of machine. A light shines bright, too bright, and I close my eyes even though I feel like I need to see what happens. If I don't see, I can't remember. This may hurt a little, the man says with a chuckle, and then cold metal touches my forehead, and the world explodes into screams. A scream makes me sit up straight. I look for the danger, the victim, but the only person in the room with me is Riker, his body curled around me. Shh, he whispers, and pulls me back down into his arms. You were having a nightmare. But someone... Oh, it must have been me who screamed. Embarrassment clouds my mind. I never scream. I never let anyone know about my nightmares. Want to talk about it? His voice is soft and gentle, just like his eyes as he looks at me with sympathy. I shake my head. I don't even remember. He nods and smiles. Your fur has gone. I touch my cheeks, surprised despite his words. Smooth skin greets me, no trace left of the fur that covered me before I fell asleep. In a way, I'm glad, but at the same time, I remember how Riker looked at me with desire, how he craved me despite, or maybe because of, my feline side, and I almost wish the fur was back. The hunger inside of me is barely sated, despite spending hours with him inside me. A pleasant ache between my legs reminds me of what we did, how we joined. Strangely enough, I'm okay with being in his arms. I snuggle against him, barely recognizing myself. I don't snuggle. I don't hug. I certainly don't fall asleep in a man's embrace. What the fuck is wrong with me? It must be the heat thing. It's making me soft, needy. I hope it passes soon. How long are cats in heat for? I whisper, a little angry when he starts to grin. It can be weeks, months, who knows. Spaying helps, but I doubt you want that. I resist the urge to protectively place my hands on my abdomen. Nobody is touching my ovaries. I snarl. He chuckles. Didn't think so. Are there any other female shifters you could ask? Dogs go into heat too, right? I usually stay away from other shifters, mainly because they're all controlled by the pack. The few who've managed to remain outside the pack are either crazy or not powerful enough to be of any use. No, I admit, but maybe Lennox knows someone. I could ask him without mentioning the heat thing. I don't want everyone else to know. But I could innocently ask him if he has any female shifter friends. If he takes that as me being jealous, so be it. The only shifters I'm aware of are male, Riker says with a regretful smile. And, as cats, we never cared much about what side they're on. They ignored us, and we ignored them. Of course, that's going to change from now on. I suddenly remember something I've wanted to ask for a while. Pumpkin, is he a shifter too? His smile wavers. I don't know, and I have no idea how to find out. He's not shown any signs, but then, neither did I. I would never have known if you hadn't done that blood test. Maybe you could test him too? Tell him to go to Bethany or Lily. They're the experts. I can draw blood, but I have no idea how to do the DNA comparison stuff. He nods, hope flashing in his eyes. Do you think it's likely that he's a shifter even though he's got a cat mother? Your guess is as good as mine. Jan interrupts my words. I need some tea, or I'll fall asleep again. He flashes me a grin. I know something else that might keep you awake. His hand finds my breast, and he squeezes gently. So different from last night. The scratches and bite marks he left have disappeared together with my fur. Along with it, all the pains and aches left from almost dying. Well, I actually died. My heart stopped, according to Lily, have gone, making me feel better than I have in days. I might be almost ready to go downstairs and see what's been going on at Meow. Then I think of the stacks of paperwork likely waiting for me and decide to do more important things first, like grabbing some food and tea. I get up, leaving behind a disappointed Riker. I smile at him. Later, I'm starving. Understanding seeps into his yellow eyes. Do you want me to? I pull on some yoga pants and relief reflects on his face. You're getting up. You're going downstairs. That's good. I chuckle. Yes, that's good. I've got an assassin business to run, and more importantly, I've got the pack to destroy once and for all. Chapter 3. I drink half the bottle of milk before even thinking about tea. Seems I'm still in cat mode. By the time the kettle is boiling, I'm sitting on the floor, the secret bag of catnip on my lap. Bliss. Almost as good as sex. I no longer care about the tea, nor about the loud whistling of the kettle.
Can someone please turn that off?
Lily bursts into the kitchen, then breaks into laughter when she sees me on the floor.
Are you high?
I grin at her. Not at all. My mouth finds it hard to form the words, but that doesn't matter. I'm a happy cat. Yummy catnip.
You can talk.
Lily looks at me in surprise, and it takes me a moment to figure out why that shocks her. Oh, yes, you can understand me. Her eyes widen as she focuses on my mouth.
You're no longer meowing.
Yes, I'm talking human again. Now leave me alone. Stop guilt-tripping me. Usually, this would be a big deal. I've got my voice back. But the catnip is making it all seem unimportant. I'm going to need some more of it. Lily sighs and takes the kettle off the flame and switches off the hob.
I think you need some coffee,
she tells me sternly.
And my special detox smoothie.
I groan at the thought. I don't know what she puts into that concoction, but it smells and tastes disgusting. Plus, it takes away the woolly feeling the catnip gives me. I don't want it to go. I like this moment. I don't want it to end. I pop another catnip cookie into my mouth. I make these whenever Lily is out of the house. She'd never let me bake them when she's around.
Catriona Feln, I'm not letting you turn into an addict,
she tells me and snatches the bag from my arms. The catnip makes me sluggish, and my reflex is poor. That's the only reason why she manages to steal my treats. Maybe I've had a little too much after all. I can't let her take away my catnip. I growl at her and flash some fang. She chuckles.
You're adorable.
Not the effect I was going for. I grumble, my words slurred. Give me back my catnip.
No way. I need you coherent. There are things we need to discuss.
I stare at her blankly. What is there besides the joys of catnip that we need to talk about? It can't be important.
Where is Riker? I thought he was with you.
She asks with a wide grin. She must know that he spent the night with me. With his cats. There was something he wanted to do. I can't remember. Lily sighs.
I'm going to make that smoothie.
She basically has to force the smoothie down my throat, but once I've given my stomach time to settle, I'm kind of grateful for it. The clouds mulling my brain are slowly disappearing, giving way to clarity mixed with traces of embarrassment. I've let myself go, lost control. It seems I'm changing not just on the outside. If this continues, who knows what kind of person I'll end up as? A catnip addict, slothing on the sofa all day, unable to gather the energy to even do a single hit. No, not going to let that happen.
Better?
Lily asks with a wry smile. Lots. Now, tell me, what's been happening with Meow? I'm glad she doesn't jab at me for not bothering with my business the past few days. She knows I would have been there if I could have.
Nothing much. We've got a few new cases that might interest you, but nothing urgent. So I left them on your desk. Benjamin thinks he found a group of bank robbers that he's trying to join, so please get that idea out of his head. We need him to do our own robberies, not do it for other people. Bethany is locked in the lab. She's working on something and won't tell me what it is. Besides that, it's been quiet. Your men have been here almost every second of the day, though.
I almost spit out the last mouthful of smoothie. My men? I splutter. You mean the men? She snickers.
Trust me, they're not interested in anyone but you. It's taken the combined effort of all of us to keep them from beleaguering you, watching over you at all times. I only let Riker up there because of your hair problem.
She winks at me.
Glad that one's sorted. You look a lot less weird now.
Thanks. I better get some good razors if this happens again. Lily laughs.
Let's hope it was a one-off. I love you, but I prefer you as a human, without a catnip addiction.
She shoots me a stern glance, then walks off, leaving me to my own devices. I put the empty smoothie jug in the sink, hoping that it will magically clean itself. I know, no such thing as house elves, but a cat can dream. Lily said the men have been here most of the time, but now the house is empty except for Lily and Bethany. I can hear Beth downstairs in the lab. A mysterious project? Call me intrigued. The lab door is locked, making all sorts of alarm bells ring in my head. Nobody ever locks that door. Bethany! I shout, putting on my stern boss voice. Open up! The sounds of her working stop, but the door doesn't open. Cat? She asks, muffled through the thick metal door. You know it's me. Now let me in before I get angry. She sighs, and a moment later, the door opens, revealing a tired-looking Bethany. She's wearing a protective suit, turning my alarm bells into shrill sirens. What are you doing? I scan the lab behind her. The two workbenches are overflowing with equipment, so chaotic that I wonder what's Bethany turning into. Usually, she's so careful to keep everything tidy in here. The Bunsen burner behind her is still on, so I walk around her to switch it off. She moves to intercept me, but I'm faster, stepping to one side to see what she's been hiding behind her back. What is that? I ask sharply, staring at the manila folder bearing the PAC logo embossed on the front. What are you doing with PAC documents? She visibly cringes. It's one of the files you guys brought back here. It's got some medical data that I've been wanting to explore. She doesn't meet my eyes. Medical data? Like what? Cloning, she whispers. Not to replicate any of it, of course. She adds quickly when I'm just about ready to shout at her. Just to understand what they did and how. It might help me figure out what they did to you and to Little Cat. We might be able to know how many others were involved, how many other clones there are. I'm tempted to reach out for the folder, but it's still too fresh, too sore. I need more time to accept what I am, what they've done to me. I get that, I say slowly. But what are you doing with all that equipment? Why aren't you just reading it? We would have done that eventually, anyway.
There are some bits that talk about a particular drug that was given to all clones, but it doesn't say what it actually did. I thought if I followed the instructions and made it, then maybe I'd understand.
Her shoulders droop, but I don't let myself be deceived by that. Were you planning to give this drug to me? I ask sharply. Or to little Cat? Her eyes widen, reassuring me that her intentions weren't threatening. Thank the great cat in the sky.
No, but once we have the drug, I thought I'd test your blood to see if there's any residue, even just the tiniest of traces. They gave it to you to have a lasting effect, permanent even, so I might be able to find evidence of that.
Her expression hardens. And if we ever find a clone who's not on our side, well, then we can test it on them. I'm surprised by the steel in her voice. She's not a vengeful person. She likes to mess around, have fun with her poisons, but she's not enjoying other people's pain. Do you think we'll find other clones? She shrugs.
According to this, there are several dozen, but we seem to be missing any files that would tell us whether they're alive or not. They've been focusing a lot on Little Cat, though, so I doubt many of the clones in between you and her are still around. Probably failed to meet their expectations.
I shudder. I still have no idea what their plans for me were, but seeing them experiment with kitten DNA to add that to shifters, not good. Mother Nature is confused enough sometimes. We don't need humans meddling with that. Right now, I'm half human, half cat. If they added more cat, would that make me lose my humanity? Or worse, have they already done such a thing? Am I maybe not as human as I thought? I push those thoughts away. They don't help, and I need a clear head to come up with what to do next. From now on, I want you to tell me exactly what you're doing with these files. I tell Beth sternly. She nods downtrodden, her eyes on the floor. I know your intentions are good, but we cannot let this information fall in the wrong hands. Or worse, let it corrupt us. We're going to stop them, not replicate their research. So once they're shut down, I want all of this destroyed. She looks as if she wants to protest, but then nods. Somehow, I've got a feeling that we're going to have to talk about this again. Where are the other files that we got from the Pack Lab? She points to a metal lockbox in one corner of the room.
Most of them are in there, but Griffin's got some, and I think Linux too.
I groan. Great. The information is already spread all over the place. I trust Linux, and yes, I think I trust Griffin too, but I need to keep reminding myself that this is dangerous stuff. We can't risk any of those files getting lost, or worse, stolen. Until I know what information we have, none of these are going to leave the house. I'm going to put that box into my office, and if someone wants one of the folders, they'll have to come to me. Understood?
Can I keep this one?
I sigh. Yes, for now, but as I said, keep me informed of what you find out, and don't you dare ask me to be your guinea cat. She laughs softly.
I wouldn't dare to. I know you have claws.
If only she knew. Those claws looked beautiful on Riker's skin. Heat runs through my body, reminding me of the heat situation. Bethany?
Yes?
Finally, she looks at me, her eyes filled with curiosity. I don't suppose you found anything on cat shifter reproductive physiology in there? Her eyebrows curve in amusement.
Are you having a painful period?
I shouldn't have said anything. Not my period, but... Did you find anything? She shakes her head, a smile curving her lips.
No, but I'll let you know when I find something.
I nod stiffly and turn to leave. Thanks. Before I'm out of the door, she clears her throat.
I've got some extra strong painkillers in a hot water bottle, if you want.
I don't turn back. No thanks. Not that kind of problem. If only she knew. My office is just like I left it. Except that my in tray has grown and had babies since I last stepped foot in this room. A few cases, Lily said. They're either all very long and detailed, or she's unable to count. Fun. At least this is a familiar task, something to get lost in, something to keep my mind off other things. I sit down in my comfy leather chair and pull the first file from the pile. A woman wanting to get rid of her husband. I smile. And she wants him to suffer. Nice one. I put her on the priority stack. The next 3 are business people wanting to have their competition eliminated. Low priority. They usually pay well, but those cases are boring. There's no passion behind their motives, just cold calculations and maybe a touch of jealousy. Relationship murders are far more fun. A man wanting his father killed. That's not unusual, but this time, it doesn't seem to be about an inheritance. The father is homeless, so I doubt he's got much money for the son to get. Why then would you want your own father murdered? There's no information on that in the document, so I put it on the priority stack, hoping that I'll get the time to deal with that case. It's unusual, which makes it mine. After an hour, I've got 3 neat piles in front of me. High priority, low priority, and 1 breaking and entering pile for Benjamin. We're getting more and more of those requests every month. Ben is making a name for himself. Or better, for Meow. It's a nice side business that gets us some extra money, while also keeping the boy happy. He's not one for killing, but he excels at getting into places he shouldn't be in. I feel a lot better now that I know what I can focus on in the coming days. A few fun, simple jobs, none of them connected to the pack or other crime organizations. Just how it should be. Killing people for money. Wonderful. I can deal with that. What I can't deal with are the 2 men who've just entered the house. Chapter 4. Griffin and Lennox wait for me in the living room, as if they know that I'm no longer holed up in the attic. Well, both of them have exceptional senses, so I'm pretty sure they're aware of where in the house I am. I feel like getting some tea, but then I'd have to make tea for all 3 of us, and it would make them stay longer. I don't want to be around them for too long. Just the thought of those men makes heat pool between my legs. I hate it. Hate it so much. I'm clinging onto self-control as hard as I can, but my body is rebelling, fighting me at every step. If I let go, I'd dry hump them on the sofa, then rip off their clothes and take them both at once. But that's not something Cat does. That's not me. You look a lot better, Griffin observes when I enter the room. Lennox is spread out on one of the sofas, acting as if he lives here, but Griffin is on the edge of his seat, as if he's not quite allowing himself to be comfortable. I sit down opposite them, putting as much distance between us as I can. Even so, their scents fill my nose, causing tingles to race over my skin. My mouth waters at the thought of them being so close. I could get up and kiss them, devour them, make them mine. I pinch my thigh. Enough. How are you feeling? Lennox asks. His eyes are fixed on me, observing my every move. I wonder if he can sense my arousal. Riker knew immediately. He could smell it. But Lennox is a wolf. He's not supposed to be interested in females of another species. That wouldn't be good for evolution, after all. Good. They don't need to know the details. How have you been? This is ridiculous. We're behaving like we're random friends meeting up after a long time. I should stop this, change it, but I don't know how. How do you behave after you've been brought back from the dead? How do you thank the people who helped you? How do you accept that you weren't able to save yourself, that you had to rely on others? Bored, Lennox says, and pulls a crisp from one of Bethany's bags. The crunch of it disappearing into his mouth almost makes me jump up and shout something ridiculous, like, "Eat me instead." Maybe I should go back upstairs and chain myself to my hammock, not let myself be around men until it's all over. Me too. Griffin finally leans back in his chair and crosses his arms behind his head. I saw a little cat earlier today, though. She's happy with my aunt, but she asked for you. Don't suppose you want to accompany me there to see her? Not today. I hedge. There are other things I need to do. Lennox perks up. Like attacking the pack and killing everyone? Despite myself, I have to laugh. I take it that's on your to-do list? He nods enthusiastically. But I'm not stupid enough to do it. We need to do something about them, though. There have been reports of pack shifters disappearing off the streets. Riker has told us that his cats aren't seeing as many shifters as they used to. I think the pack leaders are pulling everyone back to regroup, but I bet they're planning to go on the offensive soon. Then we have to be ready for that. I'm glad we've moved on to familiar territory again, although I can't help but look at his lips, wet from his tongue licking away some salty crisp crumbs. Ovaries, behave. I don't have time for this. Have you had time yet to look at the stuff we retrieved from their lab? Griffin asks. I shake my head. Bethany is looking at some cloning files she found, but that's all I know so far. I'll make some coffee, Lennox says with a sigh and gets up from the sofa. This is going to take some time. Tea for me, with lots of milk. He grins. I know. Griffin, how do you take it? The moment of truth. How a person takes their tea says a lot about them. Lots of sugar, sweet and indulgent personality. Lots of milk, probably some cat genes. Nothing at all. Boring, serious, or psychopathic. Milk and sugar, but make the tea strong. That's a hard one to interpret. Is that a siren thing or a Griffin preference? I never had the chance to find out more about his kind. He said sirens are in control of the pack, but he seems to have an aunt here as well as a sister. Are they on our side? The pack's? Neutral? By now, I doubt he'd ever betray me, but I still need to find out his situation. Family can be one of the best ways to manipulate someone into doing your wishes. I've used that method often enough myself. Until now, I didn't have a family, but now I have Little Cat and my employees, and maybe even these men. Just as friends, obviously. Associates. Fucking Riker was a mistake that was only down to my heat problem. And Lennox, let's not think about that. He's not talked about me being his wolf's mate again, so I'd rather keep it like that. It's too complicated, too emotionally stressful. Penny for your thoughts. Griffin's eyes roam my face. I keep my expression neutral. Just thinking how quickly things have changed. Very true. Look at us, waiting for Lennox to make us tea. Never thought I'd be served by a wolf. Watch it, Lennox shouts from the kitchen. I'm not a service dog. I snicker. Lennox has always hated being called a dog, and now he's doing it himself. Things really have changed. I turn to Griffin. Fill me in. What did you find? I need all the info you got. As I said, this is going to take a while. We've started going through the files we retrieved, but a lot of it is written in sciencey jargon, and even your colleagues don't always know what it's supposed to mean. I huff impatiently. Enough of the preamble. Start telling me the important stuff. He smiles in amusement, but then his expression changes to something else, something darker. A shiver runs down my back at the intensity in his gaze. Do you want the gentle or the brutal version? What do you mean? I can tell you the truth without making you feel bad. If I give you all the details, however, it might upset you. Some of the things we found in the lab aren't for the faint of heart. I'm definitely not faint of heart. I protest, but secretly I appreciate his warning. I'm a clone. I'm not really what I thought I was. There might be more of me. There might be answers I don't want to be true. But when have I ever retreated from a problem? Besides drowning my worries in catnip. Give me the full version. Don't try to protect me from the truth. I need to know. He nods and clears his throat. All right then. You were the first clone, and the one who survived for the longest, which is surprising given how many they terminated because they weren't perfect enough. You'd think that the first would be the worst, in a way, the least perfected. Maybe they wanted you as a control subject compared to future versions. Coldness spreads through my veins, and I want to make him stop talking, but I need to hear this. There's no hiding from the truth. Not knowing would be worse. How many? I ask hoarsely. Counting the embryos that never came to full term, 53. I swallow hard. 53 versions of me. Little cat. She was called K8 by the woman in the lab. I thought there might only be 8 of us. I whisper, unable to hide my emotions from Griffin. The walls around me are crumbling. They only named the ones K plus a number who survived past their first year. You're K1. Then there were 6 other children before Little Cat. There seems to have been 2 other girls after her, but I've not been able to find any information on their whereabouts. The children must have been kept somewhere else, not in the lab. They weren't at the pack headquarters either. I lived there and never saw anyone who looked like me. I would have been able to smell them, their cat shifter scent, even if I hadn't recognized them for some reason. They must be in another building that we don't know about. Griffin nods. We're going to find them, but they know now that we're on to them. They'll likely hide the clones, making it harder for us to seek them out. Children, I correct. Not clones. Please. He gives me a tight smile. Of course. Children. According to the data, the youngest would be about 3, and the oldest 16. Maybe we should focus on the oldest first. If they raised her similarly to you, she'd be out there, doing hits and working for the pack. I shake my head. Unlikely. If she'd be running around town, I would have noticed. Trust me. That means they either keep them locked inside, or she's not in this town. He sighs. I may be able to use some of my contacts to find out if there are any cat shifters in other cities controlled by my people. But that's going to be neither easy nor quick. I have to be careful. They cannot know that I'm working against them. Do it. We need to have a chat about your family at some point. But first, continue with what you found out. Lennox uses that moment to return with a tray. He didn't just make tea. He also made some finger sandwiches. I'm keeping him. Service dog indeed. I snatch a salmon sandwich and take a big bite. I've had a lot of catnip biscuits already, but they don't really sate my hunger. They just made me happier. Well done, mate. Griffin mutters while chewing on a cherry tomato. Mate? Are they that close now? Has Griffin told the others about what he is? Go on, I remind him, ignoring that he's trying to eat. All right, 7 children. We have Little Cat, so there's still a way to go. I think you should talk to her, make sure she doesn't know anything else that could help us. She's recovering well, getting some meat on her bones again, and she's getting better at having normal conversations. I nod. Can you take me to her later today? Of course. Tell her about the doctor. Lennox encourages. The woman we killed. Grandma Doctor. It's a pity we don't have her here for interrogation and a lot of torture, but that can't be helped. Lennox found some intelligence on her in the upstairs offices. She's been with the pack since she finished university, recruited by a scientist called Professor Lakefield. Not sure if he's still alive or what's become of him, but he seems to have been the first to experiment with cloning. Grandma Doctor is actually called Jacqueline Fitzroy. She's got a PhD in genetics and wrote a couple of papers on human evolution. Of course, nothing she has published mentions shifters, but she quit academia pretty quickly after she got involved with the pack. Together with Lakefield, she researched how to make shifters stronger, while also removing some of their free will. They didn't have collars back when they started. Shifters were controlled by blackmail, threats to their families, and brainwashing. Inventing the collars made Fitzroy one of the most important people in the pack. I've seen her bank accounts. She was probably the richest woman in town. We may have siphoned off some of that money, Lennox adds with a chuckle, before they realized that she's dead. Good. It's not really making me feel better about what that woman has done, but at least she'll keep Meow running for a bit longer. And it would be kind of ironic if we used her money to bring the pack down. So she invented the collars and started the cloning experiments? I clarify. Yes. Once she'd got a working prototype of the collar, she realized that while it helped control shifters, it didn't work when they were in their animal forms. She basically had stronger humans with the collars, but she wouldn't be able to get them to do their bidding when shifted. That's when she started thinking about other ways to control shifters, starting at the very beginning of their life, cloning the strongest, then adjusting their free will and obedience levels. That was her aim, creating an obedient shifter who had great intelligence, but obeyed every single command. I shiver at the thought. Being forced to do someone's bidding without even knowing that it's wrong, without having the choice to resist. I can imagine nothing worse. They tried to control me all my life, but I fought back, didn't let them turn me into their slave, even though my resistance was often painful. Yes, in the end, I always did what they told me to, but on my own terms. The times when I secretly spent time with Lennox under the bridge, when we stole away to the market to steal some sweets, those were the moments I truly felt like myself. That doctor tried to take that away from other children like me. If she wasn't already dead, I'd make sure that she'd die a horrible, painful death. Preferably with a collar around her neck, as a reminder for what she's done to others. Are you okay? Lennox asks softly, and I realize that I've balled my fists, squashing my sandwich into mush. I force myself to relax and nod, putting on a brave face. Did they succeed? I ask, dreading the answer. Little Cat wasn't under their control once we took off the collar, so they hadn't got there by the time they created her. What if they managed to succeed with the final two? I don't know, Griffin says quietly, looking at the sandwich in his hands. He's not taken a bite yet, waiting for the story to be over. We didn't find anything about them, not a single file. It's as if they made sure that everything about those two children was kept secret. Maybe that means they succeeded. Maybe not. Who knows? And we can't exactly ask her or any of the other people in the lab. They're all dead. He sighs. If that professor is still alive, he'd be well into his 80s by now, but it's worth a try. I'm already on it. Lennox interjects. Don't you have to work for your employer still? I ask him. Or are you with us the whole time now? He quirks an eyebrow. Would you like me to leave? I quickly shake my head, the thought of him being gone making me strangely anxious. It must be the heat thing. It's making me all emotional. I can't work like this. I need my emotions to stay in check, but right now, they're all over the place. I've asked for some time off. Surprisingly, they said yes. I doubt they're going to be leaving me be for long, though, so I'm kind of expecting them to give me a new order any day now. Still, I'll try and help out as much as I can. I meet his eyes, realizing how much regret he's hiding. If you wanted, could you leave? I ask gently. Would they let you go for good? He looks away. I'm not sure. I've not been brave enough to find out yet. I'll add that to my list, making sure Lennox can leave his employers, whoever they may be, preferably to join Meow. And me. No, stop it, heated ovaries. Not me. Just Meow. Chapter 5. As soon as Griffin and I are out of the door, I ask him about his family. How is it that your aunt and sister are here, but you've said you've left your family? My sister left before me, officially to go to university. She only stayed for the first semester, then decided she wanted to become an artist. It was a clever plan, really. My dad disowned her and sent her away. Now, she's got as much freedom as she wants, and doesn't even have to pretend to be something she's not. He sounds a little bitter. Why didn't you do the same? The siren community is very traditional. Men are in charge. If I'd tried to leave, it would have been a public embarrassment for my father, so he'd probably have killed me and pretended I'd died from natural causes. My sister was never intended to have a role of authority anyway, so losing her wasn't such a big deal. Was it the same with her aunt? Not quite. She was a big believer in my family's cause until her husband died. That completely changed her. I've been told she went crazy for months, totally unstable and unpredictable. Since her husband had been an important man, they didn't get rid of her, but gave her a little house and a pension far away from where she could give them any embarrassment or trouble. To be honest, I'm still not sure if she pretended to be crazy so that she could get away, or if she actually was. Nowadays, she's as sane as you and me. I chuckle. Are you saying I'm sane? Apologies, of course not. He grins. How could I ever insinuate such a thing? We walk on in silence. It's strange not running over rooftops, but actually walking along the streets like normal people. The town is quite busy, but both of us are experts in avoiding bumping into people. The only times I do that is to pick their pockets, but I haven't done that in a while. I used to love the thrill of robbing people without them realizing, but then I learned how to kill and decided I liked that a lot more. Griffin leads me into one of the wealthier parts of town. Nice of his people to give his aunt a house in this area. Maybe they tried to pay her off, make her feel in their debt. Before we can even get to the house, a flash of red hair comes running from the side, and suddenly, I'm being hugged. I look down at little Cat who's got her arms around my waist, her head pressed against my belly. Okay then. I don't think I've ever been hugged by a child. Griffin laughs, and I smoothen my surprised expression. He doesn't need to know how both weird and good this feels.
It's good to see you, Catriona.
The little girl squeals. Cat, I correct her. She shakes her head, still hugging me tightly.
I'm Cat, so you can't be Cat too.
Griffin bends over with laughter while I glare at him. I was there first, I tell her sternly. If anyone needs to change their name, it's you.
You're older. You almost look like a Catriona.
I stare at her. Did you just call me old? She steps back and shrugs with a wide smile.
You're definitely older than me, which makes you old because I'm young.
The logic of insolent children. Griffin is choking, laughing hard, but I ignore him. Otherwise, I'd have to kill him.
Are you feeling better?
The girl asks, looking up and down my body as if she's trying to see an injury that prevented me from visiting her before. Yes, everything's back to normal. Almost. The urge to jump Griffin isn't quite normal. Even the thought makes heat pool in my core. But no, that's entirely inappropriate. Not just because little Cat is watching me closely.
Good. Then you can help me.
Help you with what?
Becoming like you.
Griffin had just stopped laughing, but now he explodes into chuckles once again. We both ignore him. Why do you want to be like me? I ask, genuinely astonished. There's nothing about me that should appeal to a little girl. I'm an assassin. I kill people. I don't have a social life. I'm not pretty. I don't own a lot of nice things. I'm not particularly friendly. I enjoy being rude, and well, I wouldn't want to be like me most of the time.
You're strong,
she says simply.
You can kill them all. I'm not strong enough yet.
Oh my. She really is my clone. A little baby assassin. Who do you want to kill? I question her, keeping my tone neutral.
Everyone. All the people who hurt me. Who hurt you. Who are hurting others.
The pack?
Yes, and the others who came to see me.
That makes me kneel down in front of her so that I can look her in her eyes. What others?
I don't know, but they weren't human. They smelled different. Nothing I've ever come across. They watched me during the tests.
Griffin stops laughing and comes closer. Did they smell like me? She shakes her head.
No, not like you. Some of the people in the pack smell like you, but not the visitors. They were different.
I meet Griffin's eyes, exchanging a look. A different species, neither shifter nor siren. Little Cat has met Lily, so it can't have been succubi either, or she would have made the connection. What else was there? Until I met Lily, I'd only ever been around humans and shifters. Did they look human? I ask, and Little Cat nods.
But they smelled different, sweet, like they'd taste good if you started to eat them.
Okay, call me shocked. Is she actually talking about eating people? Please don't let her be a cannibal. Griffin clears his throat. Have you ever eaten someone? She looks up at him.
Of course not, but sometimes they gave me blood to drink. It can taste really yucky, but there's also blood that is good.
Bile rises up in my throat. They made her drink blood. That's just wrong. Yes, sometimes when I'm shifted and kill someone, I may have accidentally swallowed some blood, but I'd never drink it like a vampire. So wrong. Well, we're not going to give you blood, I tell her with a forced smile. Has Griffin's aunt been feeding you well? She nods enthusiastically.
She's made pancakes for me every evening with lots of chocolate sauce.
No, that sounds more like me. I wonder if there are any left, or if the woman will make some tonight. I could stay for a bit. Pancakes are life. I stand up straight, and Little Cat immediately takes my hand. First hugging, now hand-holding. Next time, she'll want to sleep in my bed and demand bedtime stories. I need to make it very clear to her that I'm not her mother. I might be something of her sister, kind of, but I'm not made out to be her carer. I hope she can stay with Griffin's aunt for a while longer. Permanently, maybe. Give her a chance of a normal life. Come in, or the ice cream will melt, a woman shouts through the open window. Ice cream? The cat in me meows loudly. Griffin shoots me a look. Oh, I actually meowed. Seems I'm not quite back to normal after all. Aunt Rose is a voluptuous, glowing woman with twinkling eyes and hair so full of volume that it seems to have a life of its own. It seems to move without her moving, without there being any wind. She's sat us down around her kitchen table and put a bowl of ice cream and strawberries in front of us. There's even some whipped cream on top. I like her already. Tuck in, she says with a wide smile. Don't let it melt. Little Cat immediately starts shoveling ice cream into her mouth, seemingly unconcerned by how cold it is. I'm a little slower, forcing myself to savor every bite. Amazing. Griffin sighs. Remind me to visit more often. Rose chuckles. If I can lure you here with ice cream, so be it. And strawberries, he hastens to add. Those are kind of essential. Obviously. Usually you'd get a chocolate flake too, but Cat has eaten them all. I'm about to protest that I've done no such thing before remembering that I'm not the only cat in the room. This really is getting confusing, but I'm not going to be the one to change her name. Little Cat could always come up with something unique, something that's hers. Maybe that's the angle I should take. Tell her that to be like me, she needs to be her own person with her own name. Yes, that's going to be the plan from now on. It's nice to finally meet you, Rose says once all our bowls have been licked clean. In Little Cat's case, that is, I'm jealous that she's still a child and allowed to do that. At home, if I were alone, I'd definitely lick it clean myself. But I'm pretending to be a grown-up just now. Nice to meet you too. That's about as far as my manners and knowledge of small talk go. Let's hope she won't start talking about the weather. Is Y around? Griffin asks. I've not seen her in a while. His aunt snorts. Neither have I. She's with that boy again. Young love. His eyes widen. My sister has a boyfriend. Oh, I thought you knew. Well, she's going to kill me for telling you, but yes, it's been going on for a couple of weeks now. She's hardly ever here, spending all her time at his place. I remember how I was when I first met Jimmy. Just the same, always together every minute of the day, as if being apart was a waste of time. You should ask her to introduce him to you. I've not met him yet, but he sounds lovely.
She says he's gorgeous,
Little Cat adds.
She always draws out the O when she talks about him. Gorgeous.
Seeing her act like this, happy and innocent, makes me happier than I thought it would. It means there's hope for her. She may have had a crappy start to life, but that might not mean that she can't ever be happy. Maybe, with time, she'll be able to forget her past and start anew. And I'm going to help her with that. It's too late for me to forget what the pack has done to me, but she still has a chance. No, I definitely want to meet him. Griffin doesn't look happy. Is he a protective older brother, or is he a controlling one? A jealous one? Are you going to stay for dinner? Rose asks. Before I can ask if there will be pancakes, Griffin shakes his head. We've got things to do, but thanks for the offer.
Can I come?
Little Cat looks at me expectantly. I'm afraid not, but before we go, I need to have a chat with you. Maybe somewhere private? Rose shoots me a curious glance, but then nods and leads us to a small sitting room. Probably not the only living room in this house. It's too big and fancy for that. This might be a sort of waiting chamber, or a place to have a drink before the main meal. Who knows? It's not like I know posh stuff like that.
When can I come home with you?
Little Cat asks as soon as we've sat down on a plump yellow sofa. Not a color I would have chosen. I find it interesting how she calls it home already. She was at the Meow headquarters for what, 1 day? 2 days? And now she calls it her home. Children are weird. For now, it's best you stay here. The pack will retaliate, and they might come to attack Meow. If that happens, I want you as far away from danger as possible. They don't know you're here, which means you're safe.
I'd be safe with you,
she complains.
You'd keep me safe.
I'm struck by the faith she has in me. Is it just because I'm her clone, her older sister? I'd try my hardest to keep you safe. I reassure her. But we're outnumbered if the pack decides to go on the offensive. You understand that, right? She meets my eyes, and after a moment's hesitation, she nods. I smile at her. It sounds like it's pretty good living here with Rose. Pancakes and ice cream. I'm almost tempted to move here myself. Little Cat laughs and licks her lips.
Auntie Rose is a great cook. She's reading stories to me too, every evening.
That's nice of her. What kind of stories?
Stuff about princes and dragons and evil witches. I keep telling her that nothing in those books is true, but she says that's the point.
I can't help but chuckle. Little Cat is not used to fairy tales. Of course, neither am I, nor would I have been at her age. There were no bedtime stories at the pack. I sometimes stole a book from one of my victims so that I could train my reading skills, but most of those were adult books, nothing about princes. Enjoy it, I tell her. You've had a hard time. Let's just enjoy all the good things happening to you now. She nods, her expression serious as if I've given her an order that she intends to follow.
But I can come and live with you soon?
Once the danger is over, we can talk about that again. Disappointment spreads across her face. She's not learned yet how to hide her feelings. Just because I need to find a nice room for you, I quickly add, and her mouth curves into a small smile. And get everything you need. I've never had a child stay with me before. I almost expected her to protest at me calling her a child, but she stays quiet. Now, before I go, I need to ask you a few questions. It's very important that you try and answer them, okay? She nods, all business again. When you were with Grandma Doctor, did you ever see other children? She frowns and her eyes turn glassy, like she's looking inside her mind, searching for memories.
Maybe.
She whispers after a long while.
I heard them talking about others, but I'm not sure if I ever met one. It's hard to remember. I was wearing the collar.
She rubs her throat, and my own hand immediately goes to clutch my neck. We're both damaged. Hopefully, she'll be able to get over it. She's still young. Were there any people with our hair color? That's hard to miss. I give her a little smile. Her hair is as fiery as mine, although it seems smoother. She frowns, looking into the distance.
Once, a woman, maybe as old as you, she was on a chair next to me. She didn't speak to me, just looked at me for a long time. Then they made us both sleep, and when I woke up, she was gone.
I clench my fists. That might have been the clone after me. The one who'd be 16 right now. For a little cat, she might have looked old. The alternative, her being a clone we don't know about, is one I choose to ignore.
I'm sorry.
She sniffs.
It's hard to remember. It's like there's fog everywhere, and I'm afraid I'll get lost if I walk in too far.
I take her hand and give it a squeeze in what I hope is a reassuring gesture. I've seen other people do it. That's fine. We'll figure it out, don't worry. If you remember anything else, let me know. Aunt Rose knows how to contact me. And maybe write it down too, so you don't forget. Her eyes widen.
I don't know how to.
How to do what? Her lips quiver, and she looks away.
Right.
Oh my. They never taught her. Fuckers. Do you know how to read, though? She nods eagerly.
A little.
Good, that's good. I'll talk to Rose, maybe she can help you with learning how to write. Would you like that? Her nodding becomes ecstatic. I give her a wide smile, trying to hide my sadness. Once this is all over, we might even be able to send you to school. You can meet other children your age, make friends, learn how to read and write, and all sorts of other things.
Really?
Really. But first, we need to deal with the pack. It's not safe for any of us while they're still in charge. She bites her lower lip, then meets my eyes.
There's one thing I remembered.
Yes?
They took me to a house. A blue house with a red roof. I don't want to remember what they did there, but maybe you can find the house. It was big.
I flinch at the pain in her eyes. No child should ever have to feel this amount of pain. Chapter 6. We're quiet on our way back home. Griffin hasn't asked what little cat told me, and while I will fill him in eventually, I first need to get over the fact of how much they mistreated her. I knew that, of course, from seeing the state she was in when we first found her, but seeing the pain in her eyes, the desperate attempt not to remember some of the things she went through, it hurts. I always thought I had it bad, but it turns out I basically had the perfect childhood compared to her. I need to distract myself from those gloomy thoughts. I need my brain functional and rational. Your aunt is nice, I say randomly. She is. Wait until you taste her pancakes. Is she all about food? He shrugs. She doesn't talk much about her life before her husband died, so yes, it's all about food with her. She loves to chat about what's going on in town, what gossip she knows, what book she's just read, but she never mentions the past. It's like she forces herself to live in the present. Maybe she's afraid she might go crazy again if she dwells on her past for too long. That makes sense. I stop, and he looks at me questioningly. We need to talk. If we go against the pack, that also means we're going against your family. You might have escaped their notice during our attack on their lab, but if we do a full assault on their headquarters, I doubt they won't realize your involvement. He nods. I know. You said your father would kill you if you defied him. Griffin shrugs. Yes, he can try, but if there's no pack, that also means he has no influence over this town any longer. He'd have to physically come here or send someone to do it for him. I know the way he thinks. I'll be able to evade him. And if it comes to it, I will kill him myself. There's steel in his voice, metal that has been forged long ago. He's ready to do it, if he has to. I'll help you. You've fought on my side, and I will be on yours. He steps closer, bridging the distance between us. My skin tickles at his closeness. I appreciate that. His voice has changed, turning hoarse and deep. It totally turns me on. If we weren't surrounded by people, I'd jump him. I'm so tempted to slip my hands underneath his shirt, to take him where we are, to fuck him like it's the end of the world. God. His voice is honey and catnip, luring me towards him. My lips are on his before I can stop myself, and then we're kissing, hard and wild, our tongues dancing, our breaths mingling. Burning desire spreads through me. If I don't take him now, something is going to happen. I'm close to exploding, full of energy that needs to be used. I barely feel the sting of pain as my fingernails turn to claws. I rake them over his back and he groans, pulling me against his chest, his mouth ravaging mine. Get a room! Someone shouts, and just like that, I'm ripped from my sexual frenzy. I step back, the heat in my body disappearing quickly, giving way to a twinge of embarrassment. Damn cat and heat. I don't fuck men I know. At least I didn't used to. I had a clear code of satisfying my needs without ever getting attached. Now I just snogged a guy in the middle of a busy street, not caring that he's a friend, someone who's hopefully going to stick around. I can't have that jeopardized by my own misguided hormones. Griffin clears his throat. How about we go to my place? It's not far. He's got a place? Yes, I want to scream, take me home so we can continue this, but Rational Cat takes over. We should go back and make plans. I expect him to nod and accept that, but no, he wraps his arms around my waist once more and pulls me close. I don't think so, Cat. You've woken the siren, and you better finish what you started. His eyes are green pools of desire, shimmering unnaturally. Is that the siren in him? Is there a physical change, or did he just speak metaphorically? My place, now, before I take you here and now. His voice is a husky whisper, and just like that, the heat is back, and with it, the urge to have him deep inside of me. Fuck Rational Cat. I let him take my hand and lead me away from the crowds. Through narrow streets we go, almost running, both of us desperate to fulfill our urges. If we're not there anytime soon, I threaten, my claws coming out once more. Letting him take me against a wall of a random house doesn't sound too bad just now. My blood is boiling, my body screaming for release. I need him so much. I don't care that I've only just been with Riker, and that I was with Linux not too long ago. Right now, my cat senses are taking over, and cats take multiple mates. I no longer care about human conventions. I want what is mine, and Griffin is a prize that I'm going to claim. Almost there. He's out of breath, not sure if it's from running or suppressing his siren needs. I've never been with a siren before. Is it going to be different? Is he different anatomically? Am I going to be surprised when I rip his black leather trousers off his body? A large tenement block looms over us, dark and brooding. Not a place I'd like to live in, but Griffin pulls me through the front door, up 2 flights of stairs, and then we're in his flat. We never make it to his bedroom.
Because of YouTube's content rules, this scene has to be skipped. However, if you want to listen to the spicy scene, go to the link in the description.
My body is sore when I slowly resurface from the pure need controlling my mind. We're on Griffin's bed, which is too small for both of us, which is why I'm half on top of him, one of my legs dangling in the air. We've had a shower, then ended up on the rug in the living room, then on the bed, then another shower. Now we're back on the bed, but the lust racing through my veins is finally dissipating. My muscles are aching from all sorts of strange positions that Griffin's siren voice made us try. I'm not sure how much control he had about it all. There are no regrets, though. It was worth the soreness. I lick my lips, thirsting for some water, but getting up from the bed seems like too much of an effort. Instead, I rest on his chest, listening to his steady heartbeat. "Thank you," he whispers. I blink open an eye. Why? For accepting the siren. For not running away. I smile happily. It was far too good to run away. He stretches his arms, banging his wrists against the wall. This room is entirely too small for 2 people. The entire flat is tiny, but I guess it's enough for only 1 person. I've not seen the kitchen yet, but I hope he's got his fridge stocked with junk food. I never eat healthy after sex. My body needs lots of calories to stock up with energy. "I can't do that with humans," he says quietly. I can't see his face, but I can hear the regret in his voice. "They usually end up dead. The siren is too strong." "They die from sex?" I ask incredulously. "No, from the energy the siren pulls from them. A bit like what succubi do, except that it doesn't have to be sex for the siren. It can feast on fear, too. On most emotions, actually. But most people in my family prefer fear." He laughs coldly. "One of the many reasons why I left." "So, does that mean you fed from me?" He slips his hand under my chin and lifts my head, forcing me to look at him. "You didn't realize?" "No. But you don't feel exhausted now? Drained?" "Yes, but that's normal after what we've just done. I don't feel more tired than I should." He frowns, still holding my head in place. "Strange. I feel like the siren has fed. It's content and relaxed. I've not felt this free in ages." "You talk as if your siren is separate of you. I thought you were a siren." He grimaces. "I'm called a siren. That's my species. But I'm something in between while my siren part resides deep within me. Maybe it's me. Maybe this is just a protective mechanism that I've developed to tell myself that it's not me doing all those things. But yes, it's separate, and I can control it most of the time. But when it hasn't fed for a while, it gets harder for me to control. Out there in the street, when you tempted me, I almost lost control. The only way I got it back for a while was promising the siren that I would bring you here, so that we could have you." He gently lowers my head to his chest again, probably so that he doesn't have to look at me anymore. I still saw the shame in his eyes, just for a second. He's blaming himself for something that didn't happen. "You didn't feed on me. I promise you that if I had wanted, I could have fought against the siren's song, but I didn't want to. I needed you as much as you needed me." He chuckles sadly. "I somehow doubt that." I take a deep breath, already regretting what I'm about to say. I'm in heat, like a cat. Well, I am a cat, so I guess I'm a cat in heat. Except that this has never happened before, and I feel like jumping everyone, and now after I've been with you, it all feels so much better. The words ramble from my lips. My thoughts are all over the place. I shouldn't have told him. It's too embarrassing, too revealing. Never tell others what they don't need to know. That used to be my rule. Don't expose yourself. Don't show them what you feel, what you think. I'm no longer strong enough to live by those rules. I've become weak, emotional, human. What I need is to run around as a cat for a couple of days to fight my humanity. Then stay away from Griffin, Riker, and Linux. And the other Meow people. I've become far too close to them. It's distracting me from what's really important. You're in heat, Griffin repeats. Are you going to help my leg anytime soon? Should I be worried that you might pee on my shoes? I sit up and look at him, half angry, half amused. My cat used to do that. He explains with a wry smile. Sat on my favorite shoes and literally filled them with her pee. You can't imagine what a relief it was when we had her spayed. I stiffen. His smile grows wider. Don't worry, I've no intentions of having you spayed. Although I'm sorry, the siren never thinks about things like protection. Could you get pregnant? I stare at him in surprise. I'd not thought of that. I doubt it. Maybe if I slept with another cat shifter, but... Fuck. Chapter 7. If there is a pregnancy test for cats, I've never seen one before. Instead, I pop by the pharmacy and get myself some morning after pills. They're for humans, but in the end, it would be human me giving birth, not cat me. At least, I've never heard of a shifter whose animal form got pregnant. That would be, well, who am I to judge? By the time we're back at the Meow headquarters, my earlier happiness has slowly given way to the same familiar urge as before. I think it's getting worse. I already feel ready to fuck someone again. This can't continue like that. I'm not that kind of person. There's far too much work to do, and I cannot neglect Meow because of my stupid hormone issue.
You've been gone for a while,
Lily shouts from upstairs as soon as I step foot inside.
Is Griffin with you?
Yes, he calls back, giving me a questioning look. I shrug. No idea what Lily wants him for. Cat? This time it's Bethany shouting from the lab below us. I sigh. Why does everyone want stuff from me? Griffin laughs. That's why I'm a freelancer. I have no idea how you do it, being responsible for other people besides yourself. Trust me, most days I regret it. I sigh again and head downstairs, deciding that Beth might have a more exciting and urgent problem for me to solve. After all, she was working on the cloning experiments the pack have done. She meets me at the door to her lab, already taken off her coat. Is Riker there? She asks. No idea. I only just came home. Why? I tested Pumpkin's DNA. I think I should tell him first. I nod. Is it good news? Depends on whether you want Pumpkin to be a shifter or not. But I also found some interesting stuff about your siblings. What? Both nervousness and excitement rise up in me. I know what happened to at least 2 of them. I stare at her in surprise, then grab her by the shoulders. Tell me, now. They were sold. Pieces of me shatter. Sold. Like livestock. Like slaves. Where? When? I whisper, desperately trying to stay in control. A couple of years ago. K4 and K5. Who did they sell them to? Even asking that question leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. Stormborough, according to the records, they're twins and were sold to something or someone called Trauerstein. I'm afraid that's all I can tell you. All I have is an invoice. She swallows hard, sharing my pain. An invoice. Like you use for goods being sold. Not children. Not girls exactly like me. I'm beginning to think I had it the best out of all 10 of us. I got out of it alive without being permanently harmed. Now I have a life. I make my own decisions. I'm my own woman. I'm free. My siblings, though, who knows how many of them are even still alive? 43 of us never survived past our first year of life. It's all so wrong. I've never heard of anyone called Trauerstein. Maybe it's an organization like the Pack. I'll ask the others. One of them might know. I turn and walk away from her, hiding my face. I don't want her to see that I'm about to cry. Cats don't cry. Humans do. Right now, I'm as human as they come, locked inside the bathroom, trying to stem the flow of tears. Maybe it's the imbalance of hormones raging within me. Maybe it's because I'm sad. Before I met Little Cat, I never knew that there were more of me. Now that I do, it scares me to bits that not all of us might still be alive. God. Halfway up the stairs, Riker corners me. I hadn't even realized he was in the house. He's holding little Pumpkin in his arms, his muscles bulging around the little kitten. Pumpkin happily meows at me. He has no idea what's going on. I wish I could say the same. I wipe my eyes, making sure no treacherous tears show. "What's wrong?" Riker asks, running his eyes over me as if he's looking for injuries. No, he can't see my wounds. Those are deep inside. Scratches on my heart, bleeding gashes that won't ever heal. I'll tell you later. My voice is choked and brittle. Better if I don't talk too much right now. I don't want him to see how weak I feel just now. All right, I'll hold you to that. Lily told me that Bethany has got the results of Pumpkin's blood test. He ruffles his son's fur. Want to come and find out what he is? Going back to the lab, facing Beth again, being reminded of what she just told me? No, you go. I think it's better if you do that on your own. Disappointment flicks over his face, but it disappears quickly, pushed away by concern. Sure you're all right? I shrug. Go, talk to Bethany. I think if he didn't have an impatient Pumpkin in his arms, he'd stay and interrogate me, but luckily the kitten meows loudly, and Riker walks away with a sigh. Finally alone. I slowly walk up the stairs, heading to my bedroom. My hammock and a thick blanket sound just like what I need right now, hiding from this cruel, terrible world. Cat? I whirl around, glaring at Lennox. Why can't they all just leave me alone? What? I snarl. Nothing. He stutters, taken aback by my anger. Is something wrong? I look at him. Seriously? And then I start laughing. He's asking me if something's wrong. Hilarious. Choked laughter turns into hysterical giggles. Lennox looks at me helplessly, but then I'm in his arms and he's holding me tight, his arms wrapped around me like the blanket I'm craving. I freeze. My laughter stops. I should run, hide, get away from him. I don't want him to see me like this. But then he rubs my back, and I let go. Tears drop onto his shirt, the wet evidence of my pain. I'd much prefer being wounded. An injury leaking blood is so much easier to deal with than my eyes pouring with tears. His hands draw gentle circles on my back, forcing me to relax into him. I let him pull me close, let him hold me, almost afraid that he might push me away any second now. He doesn't know this cat. I've always been strong around him. Now, I'm not. I'm the opposite. Broken, sad, desperate for warmth. I need someone to tell me that everything will be all right, that my world will become a better place than it is now. But of course, I can't ask him to do that. And I don't need to. Everything will be okay. He whispers softly as if he's read my thoughts. That makes even more tears quell from my eyes. We'll find a way to get through this, cat. You always survive, and you will this time too. We'll get out at the other end, and we'll be better for it. I'm not quite sure what he means, but I let him soothe me with his whispered words, soaking them in like sun on a rainy day. He shifts a little, and I cling to him, scared that he'll leave. Don't worry, he whispers. I'm just taking you somewhere more comfortable. He lifts me into his arms, holding me against his chest, cradling me like a child. The normal cat would kill him for that, but she's gone, her place taken by me, the weak, vulnerable cat. I let him carry me into the living room. He sits me down on the sofa, gently touching my head, and walks away, locking the doors from the inside. That's Lennox, always aware of everyone's needs. He knows I don't want anyone to see me like this, so he's making sure that nobody will. He returns to me, sits down by my side, and wraps me in his arms once more. My tears are still flowing, but my sobs are getting less. Him being here with me is helping. He grounds me, makes me feel safe. I close my eyes and lean into him, letting him stroke my hair and rub my back. With every touch, I calm down a little until I blink away the final tear. Still, I don't move. I don't want to break this moment. I've never felt so happy to have Lennox with me. He's just what I need. He's reliable, dependable, and even though we've been apart for a decade, I know I can trust him. He won't exploit my weakness. No, he'll help make me better, just like I would do the same for him. We're friends, and we will always be. Pumpkin is settled on my lap, snoring softly. He doesn't seem to care much about his DNA results, but his father is antsy, pacing the room while the rest of us are strewn all over the sofas. I'm leaning against Lennox's shoulder, but nobody has commented on that so far. Not Riker, who I slept with on the attic floor. Not Griffin, who I fucked like an animal in his flat. There's no jealousy in their eyes. Surprising. Maybe I've misinterpreted their intentions. Or maybe they're simply all self-confident enough not to doubt that I care for others more than I care for them. Lily has made us some hot chocolate. Well, I think she's mostly made it for me after seeing my red-rimmed eyes and puffy nose, and Bethany has donated some of her favorite chocolate biscuits. Ben is noisily munching on 2 of them at once, interrupting the silence that has fallen over the room. Riker finally stops pacing and comes to a stop behind the sofa opposite me. His eyes are wild, even more feline than they usually look. Pumpkin isn't a full shifter, he says abruptly, drawing all eyes to him. But he's also not quite a cat, according to Bethany's results. He runs a hand through his hair, obviously at a loss of what to do. I'd hoped he'd get a definite answer with the DNA test, but it seems it only made things even more confusing.
It's possible that the shifter gene is dormant within Pumpkin,
Bethany explains.
I'm not sure if it's strong enough to let him shift fully, but it might be years until we know for sure. Right now, he's mostly cat.
I think he understands us humans better than other cats do, Benjamin says hesitantly. When I talk to him, I feel like he actually understands every single word. The other cats mostly respond to my body language, but it's different with Pumpkin. Maybe that's because of his parentage. Riker nods. Maybe. He's always been very clever for a kitten, but I always put it down to his upbringing. I've put a lot of effort into teaching him, into creating the nursery for all the kittens. Not all parents have the time or means to do that. Pumpkin sneezes suddenly, his entire body shaking, but he's still asleep. I smile down at him, envying how he can just sleep through all the problems we're having to deal with. I guess we can't do anything but wait and see what he grows up to be. I mutter, tempted to pet the little kitten, but I don't want to wake him. He deserves a nap. Most of the pups of humans and wolf shifters turn out to be human with a bit of a temper, Lennox says, eyeing Pumpkin curiously. But cats and wolves aren't alike in a lot of things, so who knows? Riker nods. We shall see. I'm going to make sure he has a lot of contact with humans so that if he turns out to be a shifter, he'll already know their behavior and will be able to fit in. Not if he had the same eye color as Riker. I don't voice that thought, though. I don't want to give him more worries than he already has. Riker will never pass as a human. Not with those glowing eyes. Gorgeous eyes that are now fixed on me. I melt in their honey shades, my hormones awakening once more. Not again. He raises an eyebrow. Damn, he must be able to smell my arousal. How am I going to keep sane around him? At least the other two seem to be oblivious to the way my core throbs and my breasts press against the fabric of my shirt. I need to do some research. Maybe I'll find a solution to my little predicament. I can't stand this for much longer. If this was to go on for a few more days, weeks even, I'd die of embarrassment. I should probably leave and stay in a hermitage for a while, away from temptation. Away from men who look at me like Riker does now. What are we going to do about the pack? Lennox asks. I'm grateful for the distraction. I turn to him, hoping that Riker is no longer staring at me. I think my siblings have to be the priority for now. I know all shifters are suffering under the pack's rule, but looking at the evidence we have, my siblings are being experimented on, tortured, mistreated. And now that the pack knows that I'm aware of them, they might use the girls as leverage against me. They might even have brainwashed them enough that they can be sent as assassins. I'm not sure I could kill them even if I had to. I swallow hard at the thought. Even when I wasn't sure if Little Cat was a trap sent by the pack, I wouldn't have been able to harm her. The oldest of my siblings is around 16, which means she's still a child, and I don't hurt children. Ever. Griffin nods. I agree. Having spent time with Little Cat, I can't even try to imagine what she's gone through. If the others are still alive, we need to find and free them. Lennox looks like he's about to protest, but he stays quiet. He's been part of the pack, so of course, he must see that as his priority. Rescuing the girls will be a blow for the pack, I say, mostly to him. They've created them as their weapons, so hopefully losing them will disrupt their plans of whatever it is they're hoping to achieve. Slowly, he inclines his head. I know. It's just that I've waited so long to move against the pack, and now that we might have the opportunity... But I get it, and I agree. First the girls, then we'll destroy the pack once and for all. He makes it sound so easy. I wish it was. There are 10 of us, I summarize. That means 8 are still out there. 2 of them have been sold to someone in Stormborough. Do any of you have contacts there? To my surprise, Lily raises her hand.
My sister goes to the Succubus Academy there. I'll give her a call.
Thanks. Beth can tell you more details. I can't. I won't. Even telling them that 2 of my siblings have been sold like slaves has made me feel sick. Lennox puts an arm around me and draws me closer. We'll find them, he whispers. We'll save them, don't worry. And we'll make sure they'll never be able to do that to others again.
The youngest of the of Kat's siblings is only around 3,
Beth says, giving me an apologetic look for her slip of the tongue.
Then there's one that's between her and Little Cat. The 2 girls who are now in Stormborough are both 14. They're twins. I mean, technically they're all identical, but those 2 were created at the same time. Not counting Cat, there are only 2 others who are older than them.
I think we should look for the oldest ones first. If we're lucky, they're allowed to walk outside, Maybe even go on jobs like I used to do. It would make it easier to find them. I doubt they're in this town, though. I would have recognized the scent. Yeah, I would have too. Lennox adds, I sometimes came across cat scent, but I know that well enough to be sure that it was yours. I'm not sure if it's the same for you cats, but wolves can determine the age of someone from their scent. I would have noticed if the cat shifter was younger than you. I can't help but sigh. I've never been out of this town. I don't have any contacts in other cities. What if all of my siblings have been sent away? How are we ever going to find them?
That's why you've got a team,
Lily says with a reassuring smile.
I'll get in touch with my sister and some of the other succubi I met during the festival I went to. They came from all over the place, so I'm well connected now. They might only be able to tell that someone is a shifter, not what kind exactly, but having a description of you might help. If they all look like you, we should start distributing some pictures of you, and maybe a little cat.
Won't that draw attention to them? Riker asks with a concerned frown. I shrug. The pack already know me, and they know that I have freed Little Cat. They know what I look like. We do have to make sure, though, that any information we get is vetted. The pack will likely try and have us walk into a trap, so any tip-offs we get could be fake and dangerous. I can try and get in touch with some of my friends. Griffin says hesitantly, but I'm not sure how many of them are trustworthy. I'd rather keep that as a last resort. Knowing that the others aren't aware of his species, I quickly nod, not wanting any of them to ask him questions that he'd be unable to answer. One day, he's going to tell them, but I get why he doesn't want to. His family basically run the pack as well as similar organizations all over the country. It would be easy to suspect that he's secretly still one of them, but I know him better. I trust him. I might be able to use my employer's network of contacts to do some digging. Lennox runs a hand through his black hair. I'm sure I can come up with a good excuse. And I know a couple of shifters who travel between cities. They would be able to tell me if they've ever come across a panther shifter. It's not like there's a lot of you. I smile at him, his azure eyes reminding me of something. Little Cat told me about a blue house that she was taken to. A blue house with a red roof. That shouldn't be too hard to find. Riker says, I doubt there are many houses like that, although I'm not sure my cats can help with that. They see colors differently from how you do. Interesting. As a panther, my world is a little duller than when I'm human, but I've always found colors to be pretty much the same, just less intense. I didn't know it was different for cats. I know a house like that. Ben has been quiet until now, but he seems happy he can finally contribute something. It's not that far, actually, near the Drowned Man pub. All the houses in that street are colorful. Rumor is to make it easier for drunks to find their home. Bethany snickers. I've never been to the Drowned Man, but I think it's time for a visit. How about a night out for all of us? Chapter 8. It's strange to be around so many people at once. Griffin, Lennox, Beth, Benjamin, and Lily are all walking by my side, on the way to the pub. Well, not sure we're actually going to end up in there. First, we need to check out that blue house. Riker has gone to check on his cats, taking Little Pumpkin with him. I think he needs some time to process the fact that he still doesn't know whether Pumpkin will one day be able to shift. I wish we'd been able to find a definite answer. Not knowing is always worse than knowing. It's a work day, but still, the streets are full of people on the way to their evening haunts. The area we're heading to isn't one of the nicest. Prostitutes lean against the walls, showing way too much skin, with men leering at their half-exposed boobs. Drunks are traversing the street in wiggly lines, unable to keep upright. The sun hasn't even set yet, and they're already pissed. I don't like alcohol much. It makes me lose control of my senses, which is about the worst thing that can happen to an assassin. Lennox hooks his arm around mine, startling me. This is a very close, very intimate gesture. not something I do. I don't walk hand in hand with guys. While I try and find a way to tell him gently that I don't like it, Griffin does the same on my other side. I'm trapped between the two men, as if they've planned it. Lily wolf whistles from behind me. Bitch. I bet she's enjoying this. She knows how much I hate touchy-feely stuff. If these two were any other men, I'd skewer them with my blades. But I can't. They're too valuable to hurt. I need them to save my siblings and to overthrow the pack. That's all. The only reason. My heart beating faster at their touch has nothing to do with it. Once we're done, maybe we could go somewhere nice and have dinner. Griffin mutters, just loud enough for me and Lennox to hear him. Are you suggesting a date? Lennox sounds excited about that. With both of us? Griffin shrugs. You're here, I'm here, we both want her. Kat wants us, so yes, let's do it. I stop in my tracks, making them stumble backwards. Wait a second. What did you just say? Bethany laughs as the 3 Meow employees walk around us. See you at the pub. Her and Lily snicker, and I'm tempted to throw something at them. They leave me to my fate. Griffin and Lennox wait until the others are out of earshot. How nice of them. She's not said no. Griffin observes. Which means you owe me a $5. This time, I push them away and step back, my hands at my hips as I stare them down. You took bets? I ask, incredulous at their audacity. Lennox gives me a sheepish smile. It kind of happened. We had a chat on how to approach the subject with you. I thought you'd immediately protest and that we'd have to try something more subtle. You've had a chat? I stutter, my heart and my brain fighting for dominance. I smelled him on you, Lennox admits. So I cornered him. I needed to know his intentions. Which are good. Griffin interjects. Yes, I don't think he's trying to break your heart, and neither am I. So, think you can handle both of us? Not at once. Griffin adds quickly. Lennox smirks. Unless you want to. I hold up my hands, my mind whirring. Am I hallucinating this? Is this some side effect of me being in heat? Where does this come from, all of a sudden? Lennox's smile falls a little. I thought I'd shown you that I want you. Not just my wolf. Me too. And I understand that it's overwhelming, and if you need more time, that's okay. I just wanted to stake my claim before the other two make you theirs. Instinctively, I draw my 2 blades, pointing them at their throats. I'm nobody's. Neither of you is going to claim me. I'm my own woman, and you better understand that. Griffin blinks at me, his beautiful green eyes full of emotion that I can't quite pinpoint. You can do the claiming if you want, he says hoarsely. You're in charge. Lennox stares at me for a moment, then inclines his head. You're in charge. I don't know what to say. Or do. Old Cat would have run. Probably after poisoning them, making them suffer for a couple of hours. Cat in heat, though, wants them. Not poisoned, but alive and virile. With me. I look at the 2 of them. Griffin, dressed in black as always, with his scarred face and grassy green eyes. Lennox, broader and taller than the other man, with hair as black as Griffin's clothes, and azure blue eyes that seem to sparkle when he looks at me. The 2 of them are gorgeous, and the thought of having both of them as mine makes me tremble. But there's also a tiny voice in my head, a greedy voice, reminding me that there's someone else. Riker. If I take their offer and go on a date with the 2 of them, wouldn't that be unfair to the cat shifter? I want to be with him too. Yes, I'm greedy as fuck, but my current hormonal state is entirely unapologetic about that. I take a deep breath. I'm not going on a date with you today. I watch them closely as disappointment mirrors on both of their faces. Yes, they really mean it. Really want me. That's reassuring. Because Riker isn't here. talk to him, add him to your weird man talk thing, and then ask me out again. Lennox laughs in relief. I was wondering about him, but I didn't want to progress to 3 of us until you'd accepted us 2. Griffin isn't looking quite as happy about it as the wolf. Griffin, I ask softly, are you okay with that? He nods. Yes, just hadn't realized. Yes, I'm okay with it. We'll talk to him. A scream cuts through his words. I exchange a look with the guys, then we run towards the screams, towards the pub where the others are. Lily is on the ground, holding her arm. Her dress is covered in blood, but it doesn't seem to be hers. Bethany is standing in front of her, wielding a knife, snarling at anyone trying to get close. Benjamin is nowhere to be seen. What happened? I shout as soon as I'm in earshot.
The guy attacked her. Ben's ran after him.
Beth points to a narrow alley to her right. Lily, are you all right? She nods, but the grimace on her face tells of the pain she must be in.
Go. Don't worry about me.
As much as I would like to make sure she's safe, I know she's right. I hand Lily one of my knives, just in case the attacker returns. Bethany, stay with her. Griffin, Lennox, you're with me. I run into the dark alley, extending my cat senses, following Benjamin's scent. The street is getting narrow the further we run. There are old houses here, some more shacks than actual stone houses, and I doubt many of them are still inhabited. The perfect place to hide. Benjamin has left a potent trail that's easy to follow. His scent is getting sweatier, and I think even humans might be able to smell him by now. We turn a corner, and there he is, panting, looking up at the smooth wall of a house. He climbed up there, he calls out breathlessly. I couldn't follow. Go back to the others, I shout, but I don't stop running. I launch myself into the air and start to climb. I find footholds where most people would slip and fall. Griffin overtakes me, climbing up as fast and light-footed as a spider. Call me impressed. Lennox stays on the ground, following the same strategy we used to employ back in the pack. I'd follow on the rooftops. He'd be in the streets, cutting off our target's escape route. There's a faint scent on the stone wall, giving me an idea of what to expect our mark to look like. He's human, male, must be past his prime. Not as much testosterone as younger men. I reach the edge of the roof and pull myself up until I'm crouching on the uneven tiles. There's moss growing between them. Nobody has been up here in a while. It makes spotting the man's footprints easy, although I wouldn't need them since his scent is getting stronger. His feet are massive, leading me to think that he must be half a giant. Or maybe he's tiny with oversized feet. Who knows? Griffin is already jumping from this roof to another, landing in an elegant roll that makes me almost jealous. The way he gracefully jumps to his feet and continues running without pause is nothing but beautiful. Far in the distance, at least 20 houses away from me, is a dark figure. That must be our prey. My fingers itch, my claws threatening to come out. My prey. I'm hunting with my mates. I love that thought. A meow breaks from my lips and I increase my pace, flying from roof to roof, my feet steady whenever they touch a roof despite the slippery tiles. I've done this all my life. By the time I catch up with Griffin, the man is only 5 or so roofs in front of us. Easy. Lennox is running down below, but he's a couple of houses away. The alleyways must not allow him to follow us in a straight line. No matter. We're faster than our prey, and Griffin and I will be enough to take him down, no matter his big feet. This is fun, Griffin shouts, barely out of breath. I shoot him a grin. He's right. This is exhilarating. Of course, it's also terrible that Lily got hurt, but running over the roofs with Griffin by my side is simply amazing. I kind of don't want it to stop. Stop! I shout when we're only 1 roof behind our target. He half turns, misses a step, and as if in slow motion he stumbles, falls, glides down the tiles, hangs above the drain pipe for a moment, then it gives way and he falls. Shit! Griffin mutters and jumps over to the roof. I follow him, peeking down the wall. The man is lying on the ground, his legs bent in wholly unnatural angles. He's alive, though. I can smell his fear and pain. I could take the time and climb down the wall, but who knows how long this guy will still be alive. I need answers. I pull on my cat strength and jump. Cats always land on all fours. We don't get injured from falling. We're cats, after all, the perfect jumping and climbing machines. Brushing off the dirt from my hands, I stalk towards the man. He groans in pain. The predator in me loves that sound. I want to make him whimper, beg for relief. He hurt my friend. He's going to suffer. I crouch down by his head. He looks me straight in the eyes. His are bloodshot, and there's a trickle of blood coming from one of his nostrils. Maybe he's got a head injury. I need to be fast. Why did you hurt the girl? I growl. His eyes widen, but then his mouth curves into an ugly smile. She was pretty, he rasps. I sense Griffin and Lennox behind me, but they give us space, letting me deal with this bastard. Since he seems to need some help telling me what happened, I pull one of my knives and press it against his throat. His smile fades. Good. Why? I repeat. I told ya, she's pretty. I like breaking pretty things. I stare at him. Is he for real? She was with 2 other people. I doubt you just attacked her because she was pretty. He coughs and a few droplets of blood are catapulted into the air. He doesn't have long. I can smell the blood inside of him. He's got internal injuries, and in combination with the head wound, I doubt I'm going to be doing the killing. Nature will take its course. She smiled at me, he groans. She invited me to hurt her. What the fuck? She wanted it. She loved it. Okay, he's batshit crazy. Deluded. The world will be better off without him. Breaking Lily's arm because she smiled at him. He's lying, Griffin says from behind me. He steps to my side and his musky scent fills my senses. No, not now. Concentrate, cat. Not on his alluring scent, but on the dying man in front of you. May I? I nod. Maybe Griffin's siren talents will make the man talk. Griffin kneels by the man's side and puts a hand on his bloody forehead. Tell me the truth, he says sharply. His eyes grow dark as if clouds are passing over a grassy meadow. Storm clouds that will bring destruction and pain. The man on the ground shudders. He seems to be fighting Griffin, but then his eyes turn glassy and his expression blank. Was told to split you up. The others would have looked after your friends by now. The order was to kidnap them, or kill them if they take too much trouble. Pity I never got to have fun with the lass. She's pretty. His eyelids flutter, and I know he's dead before I focus on his missing heartbeat. Fuck. I jump up and put my knife back in its sheath. We need to find the others. This time, I don't hold back my cat. I shift in one fluid motion, amazed at how easy it feels this way. Maybe it's the worry for my friends. I run, hoping that I'm not too late.